Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are in the world. As you guys already know, my name's Juan, and welcome to the Psych Life Podcast as usual. And today we have a great guest, honestly. He's a good friend of mine. We went to college together, Christian DeAntonio. He's also a yoga instructor locally here in Miami, Florida. How you doing, Christian?
Hi, Juan. How are you? How's everything?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Taking time out of your busy schedule. Do you mind telling the audience a little bit about yourself?
No, of course. So, first and foremost, I'm a registered mental health counselor, hopefully getting licensed in November. I'm also a yoga instructor. I'm a personal fitness trainer. And I recently gotten into acting and singing. So, a little bit of everything there. But I'm mostly doing yoga full-time. So full-time, I work at several studios. I work at Lighthouse Yoga in Miami Lakes. I work at Halo Arts Center. It's in Wynwood. And I also teach online. So I also teach Zoom classes. And yeah, you can find me also at the gym too, at the gym UFIT.
That's so awesome, Christian. I'm gonna have to check you out at UFIT locally sometime, especially if you're teaching yoga, which is what today's podcast episode is about. This should be a very interesting podcast because we're both registered mental health interns, almost registered licensed mental health counselors, and I want to say congrats, man. I remember in 2015 when I met you, and it's kind of when we started, on this quest to be counselors. But just curious, Christian, you obviously are working on a lot of things for yourself. You talk about acting, you talk about modeling, you talk about being a fitness trainer or yoga instructor. And when I met you, I remember you were very into counseling, but it seems like you've branched out and you've incorporated therapy and psychology into many different branches and well-being and health. So, how have you become so versatile?
That's a very good question, Juan. And actually, sometimes I even still ask that question to myself. And yes, I have found that through all these things that I'm doing, in a way, it all comes down to helping people. So it comes down to having a self-discovery into myself. So really, truly knowing who I am in order to really help people out there. Because there's a lot of need out there. There's a lot of people out there that need, guidance and support and just, love. So with all these things that I'm doing, I just feel like it's a great way to get in touch with them, get to the core of things, the core of issues, the core of anything in life, and to open up conversations, to open up like difficult conversations that maybe in counseling, it might not appear, but maybe in a yoga class, it can, and it could bring something else out.
I love how you've taken the time to try and find yourself and put yourself out there and trying a lot of new things, Christian. That's something that I really admire about yourself. How has practicing yoga opened up other avenues for yourself? You mentioned modeling and acting. Was it you practicing yoga that you started finding out and having realizations about what you want to do and how you wanted to express yourself?
That's absolutely right, Juan. So when I started yoga, it was 3 years ago. I took my first yoga class at a gym, and it was at UFIT. And it's said that when you see yoga, you just see one aspect of yoga. So which is the physical, the physical poses, and that's what you see. But deep down, there's just so much more because, like I said, it's a discovery of who you are, of who you truly are. So it goes beyond the body. That's why it's a body, mind, and spirit merging It just immerses you into this discovery and getting to know your true colors,
And that is exactly why I'm so glad you're on this podcast today, because that was the main thing. And personally, just so the audience, what's up out there again. Personally, me as an individual, I've done yoga multiple times. There's been like some free group classes, and I've checked that out. And it's kind of what got me into yoga specifically, because I was always a big meditation guy. I do still meditate a couple times a day at 5 to 10 minute intervals. If I just need a break, I'll try and just harness myself. And we're creatures, human beings. This is the most complicated system on the planet, the body. Sadhguru says it all the time. He's a big mentor of mine. And I never noticed how much of the information that I personally process is through the visual form. And meditation was a way for me to close my eyes and actually almost heighten my senses and find awareness within myself a lot of times. And awareness comes from nothing. And that was the whole point of meditation, to almost disassociate myself from my thoughts. And I found that to be very beneficial for me, especially when it came to focus. Then I tried yoga, and yoga opened up a bunch of windows of understanding about not only my body and what the limits are, but also when I was done with yoga, it almost felt like I was on a high. And so then I started trying to implement it at least once a week or so. And this is why I brought you on, Christian, because I know that you're very well versed in yoga. Originally, yoga started in northern India. At least that's what the scriptures say and what the researchers have found. And the scriptures go as far back as 5,000 years old.
Yes.
And some researchers even believe that it goes further back, almost 10,000 years ago, as far back. And the funniest thing about it, when I was reading about yoga, was that it seems as if earlier on in its existence, the practice itself was being kept as a secret, almost as a secret society. The people that were practicing, the gurus, they didn't want the word to get out. And I was reading about it, and there's some talk about among the gurus themselves, including Sadhguru, that the reason they didn't want the word to get out is because they didn't want people to misuse it. And they knew that people were going to misinterpret the practice, because yoga is, and we're going to get into, there's so much to cover here. And I actually want to give you the floor. I'm so sorry. I just wanted to give a basis for the audience, but yoga, the gurus didn't want to misuse it. Now, what are your thoughts about this, and what do you know about it? I know it's a lot of history and stuff. Obviously, it's 5,000 worth years of history, but that little aspect right there, I find that so in disbelief when I read it.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because, yes, they have said that it had originated in India, and how they started it, as of what I've seen and what I've studied, is that yoga started as meditation. So it started as just simply being still. So, you're in your meditation. Much of the asanas or poses weren't incorporated till like later on, more westernized. That's more westernized. So like more of the physical part would be here, in the West. But over there, it started as just to have the mind still. That's the main goal of yoga. The main aspect of yoga is to have the mind still. And as we know, the body benefits from movement, and the mind benefits from stillness.
Understanding, and from what you're saying, it sounds like that yoga is just an advanced form of meditation, that originally in India, meditation was already being practiced, and that was counted as yoga. Is that right?
Yes. So that was counted as yoga. That was already, okay, so The word yoga, it could be interpreted in many ways. I would have to say, like, for me, yoga is discovery. That's how I would phrase it. But usually, in the text, it means like union, connection. But it's what I have found truly is it's just a discovery, an awakening in yourself. And therefore, since you have that awakening, you see others differently. You see others differently, and you start, like I said before, I started doing these other things, these different things, because those are things that I've always wanted to do, but I've kept closed because I wasn't open enough. I wasn't open enough to let myself just be, So yoga really helped me kind of like come out of my shell and really branch out to be the person that I'm supposed to be.
And you talked about how yoga has different definitions and how it's used now in different parts of the world, but the focus has differed depending on what part of the world. And that was something we're going to touch on, all those components that you mentioned, Christian. I appreciate you so much for being on the platform, man. And the main component here is, why do you think that here in the westernized world, they grabbed yoga and they used it almost as a tool for exercise, right? And then when we look at India and what the gurus are doing there and the way they practice yoga, exercise isn't even it is a component, but it's not the main component. It's far from the main component. As a matter of fact, over there, if they want to exercise, they just walk around. There's not even air conditioning over there. But here, they grabbed yoga. They used it as a tool for the physical body to look strong. And it's almost always about the external benefits. And why do you think that westernized culture did that?
So yeah, that's an interesting question, because I see that all the time. When I do privates, when I do my yoga privates, I ask my clients, I tell them, so what are you looking for? What is it that you're looking for? And most people tell me like, oh, I just want to tone up. I want to get stronger. I want to get more flexible, which is okay. Like, if that's where you're headed, that's okay, as long as you start it. I always say, start doing something, whatever it is. So that can be your aim now. But then when you continue doing yoga, you start realizing that it's so much more. It's so much more. You start to become alive. You become alive, and you become fearless, because you really start noticing your thoughts, and you start kind of processing those thoughts. And it comes and you face those thoughts, which might not seem easy in the beginning. But let's say, for example, when you're in a yoga pose, let's say, whatever pose, and it's uncomfortable, you start feeling your body that's uncomfortable. So what I usually say is, okay, you're in this uncomfortable situation, but can you breathe through this uncomfortable situation? So it's like, it's like a metaphor. Like, when you're in an uncomfortable situation in life, can you really just step back and breathe it out, and don't be so quick to react to something.
I love that.
What it is. Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I love that, Christian. I love that. And that's so true, because in practicing yoga, you're learning, it seems like, especially if they're taking classes with you, you're not, they might come for the exercise, but you're hoping that they get something so much more out of it. And that part about, oh, you're in this difficult position or this difficult stretch, whatever it is, but can you breathe through it? And you're associating it and correlating it with real life when circumstances happen. And a lot of people will, a lot of people disregard that, especially here in westernized culture. They disregard the aspect of association between the two. Oh, it doesn't matter when this happens, but that little aspect is so important. Do you ever tell your clients that are with yoga, hey, you're going to get so much more than the physical stretching, you're going to get so much more than the exercise, or you just let them self-explore and find it along the way?
Most of the time I usually tell them, I don't tell them,
you don't tell them.
Whatever they want in that moment, I allow it. And what I have noticed, because I've had a lot of private clients, and they come back. They come back because they start noticing that it's, this is not a workout. This is a work in. Oh. So you're totally just going and absorbing everything around you. You're being focused. So it's not a workout. It's a work in. You're realizing who your truest potentials. You're realizing your talents, your gifts, what you came here to do. What's your purpose? And that's when you reach a certain like awakening. You're like, wow,
the whole part about them coming back on their own, and you're not trying to push the teachings of yoga or trying to educate them as far as the benefits of yoga. What you think that form within itself, that whole aspect of them coming in on their own and then finding out through themselves, that's almost what happens in the therapeutic process in therapy itself. Do you think that component of them finding out on their own and you not pushing them is the main reason why they come back and they continue to explore with in trying to find like the inner workings of themselves?
Absolutely, because people have a tendency to have that curiosity, to find out more, but at the same time, they can be afraid. So afraid of bringing up, like bringing up those traumas, that might be so difficult to bring out, But yeah.
So, what I've noticed that I've seen you post stuff about Sadhguru, Christian, and that was really something that opened up my eyes because I wasn't expecting that. Not necessarily it's not from you, but just people in the westernized world, they'll see a guy, an old man with a big white beard, talking about life, and they'll say to themselves, oh, what does that guy know? Or that guy's not realistic because he doesn't care about money, or whatever the case, and whatever the beliefs that they have that they form. But that's something, when I saw that you posted about Sadhguru, it really made me realize, like, hey, this person is not just doing yoga to do it for the exercise. There's a whole different component as to why Christian's doing yoga. Now, Sadhguru, Christian, always talks about how everything we do in life is a form of expression. And he goes on to say that when we paint, it's a form of expression. When we dance, when we read and write, it's a form of expression. Even the ways we move our body from one place to the other, even while we're walking, it's a form of expression about ourselves based on our experiences and our genetics. So nature versus nurture, if we want to, grab the concepts of what Sadhguru's talking about and put it in the westernized world. Now, but when he talks about yoga in specific, which is very similar to what you were mentioning earlier about how meditation is the most fundamental component of yoga. And I appreciate you putting, educating me and the audience about that. But when he talks about yoga, he doesn't talk about it as a form of expression. He talks about yoga as a way to master the most complex organism in the universe that we know of, of course, on planet Earth, the most complex machine. It's a way, and this is where some of the audience members, I might lose some of them for a moment, or we might lose some of them for a moment. It's a way to connect not only with all the elements of the physical body and the mind, but also to connect to the higher consciousness, or according to Native Americans, to the one spirit, or to the one intelligence, or to God. All these words are synonymous, that depending on what your beliefs are. But what are your thoughts about that? That yoga, you already touched on how yoga is not about exercise, but now I'm taking it one step further. I'm going beyond the harmonizing of the body, mind, and spirit, but also into connecting to the higher consciousness. What does he even mean when he says that?
So yes, by higher self, that's in order to really grasp that, that higher self that we're talking about here, it basically comes with practice. So yoga is, like we said, is not a workout, is not something that you do, just to do it. It's a practice. So that practice brings you to that higher self that we're all looking for, to not judge ourselves, to be compassionate, to be forgiving, to just really step out of this body that we were given and see beyond it. See beyond that. There's so much more than the body. We're not this body. This body is not ours. This is temporary. But the question is, who are you? Like, you're not the body. You're not your emotions. You're not your thoughts. Right? So the higher self is asking you, who are you? That's what it comes down. And that's your own interpretation. So that can be whatever it is to you. You get me? Like,
so it's almost like once we break, and yoga, I have found that it does this in the process of practicing and or meditating, in the process of practicing, we realize that we're not our thoughts. We realize that we do have control of our emotions, and our emotions are just a product of our experiences. And we're not our physical body, because our physical body is just an accumulation of everything we've consumed. Once we pass that initial stage, which is very difficult for a lot of people, I know it took me months of practicing before you start to really, really disassociate yourself and identify yourself with these three factors. Then we get to find out what we're really capable of and what we really want to do. And we get to actually explore it, because we get to break down. Now, I've had people in the past, Christian, tell me, they have difficulty looking beyond their physical body, looking beyond their thoughts. And this also, I've seen it in my counseling sessions when I'm working with individuals and I have to teach them how they are not their thoughts. And we have to have whole psychoeducational sessions. We have to have a mindfulness interventions as well. But that whole part about breaking away from the physical dimension and our thoughts and our emotions, have you found it difficult for your clients to almost pass these barriers?
Yes, I would say like most of them have difficulty, in really going to the next level, meaning, stepping out of that and becoming aware that they're not their body. And, usually I don't like to say that in the beginning, because they might be like, oh, what is this? But like I said, through the practice, you see more of your capabilities. And just because you can do a pose, as of now, you can do a pose, does not mean that you're not doing yoga. So yoga is about going through the journey. Like right now, like for instance, I'm doing my journey right now is to do a handstand, right? So to do that handstand, my goal or the aim is not really to do the handstand. It's just the journey to get there. So what it takes to get there, to get to that point that I can be aware that the journey is not simple, because life isn't simple. So that's what yoga's teaching us, that life isn't simple, but we have power. We have so much inside of us that we can accomplish anything, basically.
And I appreciate that enlightenment moment right there, where here in westernized world, we're always trying to reach the destination and trying to get to the destination, and everything's about, I need to get to work, I need to get here, I need to get there, I need to do this. And in the process of needing to get there, we miss out on all the experiences that happen along the way. Yes. And I appreciate, and by the way, I really do, Christian, appreciate that reminder, my friend. And once again, Chris DeAntonio, he's a good friend of mine from school. Obviously has many traits. He's practicing acting, modeling, and yoga. And where can people find you again, Christian?
So yeah, I teach Zoom classes Tuesdays at 10 a.m. I also teach at 3 other locations. So one is at Lighthouse Yoga and Wellness. It's in Miami Lakes. The other one would be UFit Health Clubs. So at UFit, the gym. And I also work at this dance studio called Halo Arts Miami. So You can check me out. You can check me out there, or my Instagram at Chris Yoga Mat, where everything is there.
Definitely, and if you guys are watching this through the video, you guys are gonna find it right below this screen right now. Mm-hmm. Christian, just this has been some great information. I feel like this is one of those topics where mm-hmm. to really know, it's one thing to conceptualize yoga and conceptualize what we're talking about. It's another thing to actually experience it. And I feel like a lot of these conversations that we're having, it's best if people can actually experience it. So I'm definitely going to put your information out there. And man, you might even find me in your next yoga class, So now I'm going to get a little bit more scientific and branch out of this spiritual, what I call the spiritual, even though it's reality to me, but the spiritual dimension, just so the audience that they're more hardcore psychology right now, mental health and mm-hmm. benefits. Back then in India and northern India, which is where yoga was created, and we talked about how the words unity and merger are synonymous with this term of yoga in India. We see, like, they knew all the benefits of yoga. Yes. And here in westernized society, we take science very serious. And we don't think anything is real until there's scientific proof. Mm-hmm. Now, in today's society, we have found that yoga, it's not a myth anymore. We have the brain scans, we have the MRIs, we have the before and after brain pictures of people that do yoga, when they start, when they do it, once they do it for 2 to 3 months. And now we're seeing that yoga has actual scientific benefits. It alters your brain chemistry, and it allows for the ability to gain new experiences. And in the process of gaining new experiences, you get to disassociate yourself from our pre-programmed network of thinking. Yes. Now, this is not a myth now. This is not my opinion or Psych Life's opinion or anything. This is scientific proof. But there's still people that say stuff along the lines of, oh, I don't have time for that, or oh, that's just for people that want to do exercise. What do you think we need to do to break away from this stigma? Because there's obviously major mental health benefits in regards to yoga.
So like you said, like here where we live here in the United States, everyone is just always on the go. They're always trying to do the next big thing, the next that, but they don't stop to realize how important it is to just sit with yourself. So by what I mean by that is sitting by yourself is, can you sit with your thoughts, with your emotions, and face them head on, you know? So yoga is also a way to face those issues, and that's why it might seem difficult, you know, it might seem a little scary, a little intimidating to get into it, because you go in, like I said, you go in and you explore that, and in a way it has a lot of similarities with mental health, you know, with counseling. So I have found that it can be difficult. Yoga can be difficult, but it has amazing benefits. Amazing benefits. Anxiety levels, depression, you name it. Every little thing, anything.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing is, Christian? I'm very big on this, on the Psych Life platform. You know, we're very big on how every single diagnostic disorder is just an array of symptoms. And so, and obviously we got that from Dr. Rubin, you know, Dr. Rubin, and hopefully one day I get him on this podcast. But every single diagnosis is just an array of symptoms. So when we talk about anxiety, it's just an array of symptoms. Same thing with depression. And what Christian was just saying, just so the audience gets a better picture, if you're struggling with certain symptoms of anxiety and depression, yoga has been shown, and I was looking at the research a few days prior to doing this podcast, that it does lower these symptoms by a significant amount. It's not a pseudoscience. So when someone is having difficulty, for example, sleeping, doing yoga after 2 weeks was shown that an individual that was having trouble sleeping, that was having trouble falling asleep, just by them doing yoga and practicing it, they started going through the REM stage sleep cycle a lot smoother and better. And this was just after practicing yoga for 2 weeks. I wish I would have written down the source, but these are real benefits now. Now it's just about sometimes just getting started. And on the platform, everybody remembers to get started. If you're having difficulty, just do 10 minutes. You'll see that after 10 minutes of starting something, it'll be a lot smoother to go about it, and you'll see yourself fall in sync with it. So I appreciate
and
you.
That's
I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's a good point, Juan, because many people feel like, oh, you know, I've never been to a yoga class. I'm not flexible enough. I'm not strong enough to hold a pose, or whatever their thoughts might be. But you have to remember, the most important thing in yoga is to show up. Show up with yourself. So you don't need to be flexible. You don't need to be strong. You don't need to have a strong core. You just need to show up to the class and just really experience it and sit with yourself. That's the best advice I can give to someone, to try, and it doesn't have to be yoga. It can be anything that you've had an interest in. Just show up for it. Show up for it head on. And, you know, it might not be the best. It might not be, you know, but you show up. And that's a huge accomplishment. Huge.
I really appreciate the encouragement. I hope the audience, you know, takes into account how the benefits of yoga, and I hope that they do give this a try, because it sounds like it's a very pleasant self-exploration opportunity to find out things about ourselves that we never even thought of. And you know, Christian, I appreciate you so much for being on this platform. I just want to leave the audience with one comment of mine, and then I'm going to give you the closing words, okay? And I guess after this conversation and all the readings I've done, and obviously my mentor, Sadhguru, I classify yoga as a way, a practice to master the chemistry of our bodies and my body as well. It's a way for me to gain access into dimensions of my body that I never was able to experience before. And I am going to take the first initiative, and I am going to start doing yoga on a more regular basis than maybe once a week or so. And I'm going to have to, give you a call, Christian, because, if I'm going to do this experience with yoga, I want to make sure that I do it with someone that I trust, because it does seem like I'm going to be in a vulnerable position sometimes while doing this. And in the times I have done it, sometimes I'm a little bit hesitant to put myself in certain positions because of the vulnerability involved. And I'm not just talking about physically, the whole chemistry of my body changes when I do yoga, and I feel it. And so I appreciate that. And so with that being said, I'm going to put just so the audience knows, the information is going to be right here for Christian on where you can find him. But I want to give you the closing words, Christian, on not only where people can find you, again, just one more time, but just what you have to say in general about yoga and whatever you want to say, the closing words.
So I want to say honestly, like, I'm so proud of you. And I feel like what you're doing is an amazing thing, an amazing gift that you are, because you're really coming out of your shell. And you're just being your truest self, which is amazing. And I wish so many people can do that and really see their truest potential. We have so much to give. And sometimes we hold that back. Why? Because we feel, like you said, vulnerable. But vulnerability is not weakness. It is strength, because you're showing who you truly are to the world and to yourself. So it's a wonderful gift, and I'm so proud of you.
Thanks,
so proud,
man.
And I appreciate it, and I'm glad we're friends.
I appreciate you so much, man, and thank you for your kind words. I just want to tell the audience, thank you for listening. I hope you guys enjoy Christian. I hope you guys give yourself a chance to try yoga with someone who knows what they're doing, and it's a kind individual where you can become vulnerable around. And remember that if there's one thing I'm going to take from Christian today, it's that it's not about reaching the destination, but about enjoying the journey and enjoying the process and enjoying all the sensations that come with it, because it's about mastering the chemistry in our body. It's not about trying to be somewhere every 10 seconds. So Christian, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. And yeah, man, I hope you'll be expecting a call from me soon, okay?
Thank you, Juan. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.